Welcome back into the Pig Trail Show. Ailey Weiss here alongside Kevin McPherson for the Hogs Hoop Report. We got lots to talk about because Arkansas got a really big win over Louisville. So let's start there. Just main takeaways from that game.
Well, Arkansas needed to beat quality. You had your 0-2 against top 10 rated teams, both undefeated at the time, and you were so close. And here's another top 10 rated, previously unbeaten team, and you get them on your home court. Huge win in the third annual ACC SEC Challenge. By the way, the Razorbacks 3-0 now, all time in this brief series of games between the two leagues. But you got, outside of Duke, this is probably the other big brand name in the ACC. And a team that, by the way, bounced back with a win over a ranked Indiana team. So Louisville it can't be just the only win, in my opinion, in non-conference play against quality, but you had to start somewhere. And I thought Arkansas probably played its best game of the season, jumped out to a huge lead at halftime, led by 20 early in the second half. Yes, Louisville was able to cut it to a 5-point deficit. So you got the best of both worlds. You got to see your team perform at a peak level for the first half and maybe a little bit more, first 4 or 5 minutes of the second half, and just see just how much damage your team can do against a really quality team, a team that hadn't even felt losing yet. And then you had some adversity. A good team came back on you,
right,
and you figured out a way to go ahead and put it to bed and get your win anyway. So within a game, you got the highs and low. You got the highs of, putting the throttle down. You got the high of finishing the game the right way when it maybe could have shifted the other way. And I think you saw Arkansas. It might be an anomaly, but Arkansas was a terror on the offensive glass and second chance points. They haven't been that all season long. And Arkansas won the other areas it's supposed to win. A win in points off of turnovers, a win in fast break scoring, those areas that you expect Arkansas to be really good in. And I think the other thing, Ailey, is it's not just about who you beat, it's how you did it. Arkansas took only 18 3-pointers against this team. They played to the strengths. I've been begging for this team, get downhill, get to the free throw line, find ways to use your strengths, because Arkansas took 28 threes against Michigan State. They took 30 threes against Duke. Games you could have won and might have won had you cut down on the settling for distance shots and get to the basket, play to your talents. They did that against Louisville, and I think that, as much as anything, factored into it. Arkansas shoots 35 free throws against Louisville, and Louisville had about half that many attempts. I mean, you could look across the board. When you do what you do best and you make that a priority throughout a game, that helps your cause more than the alternative. And so there are a lot of things we could talk about. Individual performers, I hope we do. But those were some of the things just as a team that stood out to me, and what ended up being a 9-point win, 89-80, Arkansas's first big win of the season. And it's one of those wins that looks really good on your resume. Arkansas has jumped up this week alone. I know we haven't talked about the game yesterday, but they've jumped up from 45th in net coming into the week to today, 22nd net. So they cut that. They've jumped half the net rankings just by virtue of winning these games. But the Louisville win was an especially impressive one, and it certainly helped strengthen Arkansas's net. The first quad one win, by the way, of the season against the 6th-ranked Cardinals.
Well, you don't even need me here. You could just take this whole show away. But that's something that
Sorry.
we've been talking about, is this team finding its identity. And that's been a struggle for them against Michigan State, against Duke. And it seems like they've kind of gotten there. And then they had a really fun game yesterday against Fresno State, a team that gave them some trouble in the first half. And then Arkansas eventually just ran away with it in the second.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because initially I thought, okay, is Arkansas gonna catapult from that Louisville performance and just play lights out start to finish? Defensively, I think they did. I think that's why it became a fun game in the second half. Offensively, they started slow. They were a little sluggish there, and I don't know if it had as much to do with Fresno State as it did with just Arkansas got some good open looks, couldn't get shots to fall. But that did turn into, 82. Huh?
Missed a lot of open shots.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. This is Arkansas's best week for certain, and they played in Central Arkansas only once a year. So you had a charged up, packed out Bud Walton Arena in midweek, right? And that's the first time that's happened this year, because the rest of those games in a 20,000 seat venue have been bye games, and so you're feeling maybe about half, a little better than half You pack that place. The game in Central Arkansas every year, if it's not completely sold out, it's close to it. So you had great energy, great crowds in your week, and you had the two big wins. But yesterday did snowball into a fun game. I mean, Arkansas had an extended 22-6 run to open the second half. Shots were falling. Shots were falling. Everybody was starting to score. And Arkansas builds a 32-point lead and just kind of coasts the rest of the way, ends up winning that one by 24. But you held an opponent under 60 points as well. And I think when we look back at what Arkansas did to Louisville, because I didn't bring it up before, an elite three-point shooting team that Arkansas held down to only 8 makes. They were averaging over 13 makes per game from distance and 22%. And then this team, you held down even lower percentage-wise, only 4 of 26, right around 14, 15%. You're starting to see Arkansas's perimeter defense, at least in the last two games, really start to get a stranglehold on some of these teams. And though Arkansas went back to some of its ways of not owning the glass, they actually didn't win rebounds or offensive rebounds. Each team scored 10 second chance points, but Arkansas superior in transition 26-11 because they were +9 in turnovers, 17-6, and 11 of those 17 turnovers were steals. So live ball turnovers, you get to run the other way. It was a lot of fun. You saw a lot of fireworks in that second half, and again, Arkansas having its best week so far of the season, Aileen. I think, anything that you want to interject there, because I probably left some stuff out, but I've impressed with where Arkansas is trending right now.
No, I think you really covered it all. The thing that I want to kind of harp on a little bit as well is that perimeter defense. I think they were just getting killed behind the three-point line by pretty much everyone they were playing. Whether they were a good three-point shooting team or not, they were just taking a lot of shots, and then those were turning into offensive rebounds. So other teams were just getting a ton of opportunities on the offensive glass. So them being able to close out with their arms up. I know it sounds silly, but close out, put your hand up in their face. It's just things that you've learned when you're younger that you have to carry through and remember the little things, right? We learned this in Biddy Ball, but I also understand that the game gets a lot more complicated as you get older. So remembering your roots, kind of, I guess, is important for this team. And I think Coach Cal is taking them back and saying, okay, let's go back to the basics, and then let's step it up, especially with the new faces and the transfers and the freshmen. So I think they're gelling together. They're getting to where they need to be, and they have a really tough Texas Tech game coming up. But we're not going to talk about that just yet. We have some players we wanted to talk about and dive into a little bit. I mean, how do we not talk about Darius Acuff Jr.? An absolute stud. I mean, 18 points yesterday, led the team. He's really doing everything that Coach Cal could ask him to, and then some.
Yeah, look, offensively, he's really starting to figure out that balance between primary, lead scorer, lead guard, facilitator, and he's doing it. 17 points, 10 assists, 5 rebounds. His first career double-double against Louisville. Okay, that was huge. But then to turn around with another efficient 18 points, 8 assists. So he was close to another double-double in another 5-rebound game. This is huge for a 6'2", 6'3" guard who's your lead guard. He's getting on the glass, and that's probably the last thing we're thinking about because he's assisting at such a high level. He's also – and he's taking a better care of the basketball. Only 1 turnover yesterday. So here's a guy that, when you look at those assist numbers, though, that really stands out to me because what I've noticed is other teammates, their shot attempts are going up, whether they're hitting them initially or not. He's helping get everybody else involved. And I think when you want your players who aren't your leading scorers to go rebound, to play defense, to get deflections, to share the basketball themselves, you promote that you promote players being engaged when they're at least getting some shot opportunities. They don't want to just play entire game and not get it. And you're going to be at your best if others are involved. And I think Darius Acuff is starting to really dial up a sense of how to help this team. He's growing into this role because we know he can score points. I mean, he is a talented shot creator. If anything surprised me so far this season is how well and efficient he's been from 3. This dude has been pretty knocked down, averaging 5.5, between 5.5 and 6 threes a game, and shooting a clip over 41 or a better percent. That's elite. And we know he can get downhill. He's a tough shot maker too, driving to the basket. Even if he doesn't have a clear path all the way to the rim, and he creates some of that. If you knock him off his drive and he's fading a little bit or he makes an adjustment, he can finish those shots off as well. I don't have a whole lot to say about him offensively. It would be nitpicking
Yeah.
really, other than, trying to keep those turnovers down. And I think where early in the year he was maybe settling for some tough shots, perimeter shots, threes, when games got tight against Michigan State and Duke.
Hmm.
I think he's starting to figure out what his best advantages are, even when the game's on the line.
Yep. You talked about him making his teammates better, and Q, Malik Thomas, and DJ Wagner
Mm.
yesterday, they had great games. They were the next two down on the leading scorers list with 12 points each. When you kind of have those three guys firing on all cylinders, this team is really dangerous.
Yeah, because Malik Thomas is the other talented freshman who you want the ball in his hands and you want him getting shots. He'll
Right.
create for others as well. You look at him statistically, he rebounds, he facilitates, he gets steals, and he's capable of scoring. Now, his shooting efficiency isn't where I think it's going to end up,
Hmm.
but he's shown some shot selection, a bit more shot selection discipline himself in these last two games. I think the combination of Acuff and Malik Thomas shaving down their 3-point attempts against Louisville. They each only attempted 4 in that game.
Hmm.
Heck, oftentimes they'll shoot 4 in the first 4 minutes that they're on the court in a game.
Yep.
So
Their
honestly,
shot
so this, I
selection
mean,
has
this is
gotten so much better.
and it's a maturity and it's
Yep.
understanding, it's listening to your coaching, watching the film, seeing what worked. Oh, it worked in this stretch when you were doing this. Oh, but this maybe didn't work. So it shows the level of maturity of these true freshmen already. Now let's see if they forget some of it as we go along. Things can go up and down, but right now both of them are wheelhouse strong in terms of what works best in their skill sets.
Hmm.
Certainly, either one of those guys could go out and get 30 any night. I don't know that when you're playing really tough teams that's the best formula for winning. But I love Malik Thomas, and again, he came. We talked about Arkansas struggles shooting the ball yesterday to start the game.
Hmm.
He comes off the bench. He was the one guy that was able to hit a couple of threes,
Yep.
and he actually led Arkansas in that first half with 9 points. And you only led by 10 at the break, and so he was really crucial
Yep.
to Arkansas even having a double-digit cushion in that first half. And of course, they blew it open in the second half. But each one of these guys, we can single out some of the things they're doing. DJ Wagner got some really nice looks off the offensive ball movement early in the game, and he just couldn't knock down. The first started 0 for 4 from 3, and he had a couple of them in and out. I mean, they rimmed out on him, and he just kept stuck to it, and he ends up finishing 2 of 4 from 3 in his next 4
Hmm.
3-point attempts. Got downhill and scored, and so he ends up with those 12 points that you mentioned. He hadn't scored a lot recently, so when you bring up, you like to see that and how dangerous can Arkansas be when they're getting some of their other pieces. We need to talk about Carter Knox as well. I have a feeling you're going to go there because you mentioned it before we came
Hmm.
on, and I think it's really important we talk about him as well, which shows not that I'm surprised at all, but as we get to know each other, you could do these segments on your own without me because you know what we need to talk about going into it. I don't even have to suggest anything. I just let you drive and then set me up.
This is why this works so well. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Carter Knox. So he's been struggling, I would say. I think that's safe to
Yeah.
say this season. But he
Oh,
had a
yeah.
good game yesterday. 11 points?
Hmm.
Yeah, 11 points yesterday. But against Louisville, a really good team, where was he? 5 points. Against Duke, where are you? You only have 2 points. So in order for
Yeah.
this team to compete at the level that Coach Cal wants them to and that they are capable of doing, where does Carter Knox fit into that?
Yeah, and we could have thrown in Michigan State. He was a donut in that game as well. Only
Yep.
got one shot attempt. When you look at the scoring part of it and some other things too, I think he's been pressing. He's trying to figure out how he fits with these two freshmen that can, a lot runs through them. And Carter Knox has been mostly since he's been in Arkansas an opportunistic scorer,
Hmm.
but that showed it shone through yesterday. Again, the 11 points. When you look at that run to start the second half, it was before it turned into a 22-6 run. It was initially an 8-0 run or a 10-0 run, and he hit a couple of threes in that stretch. And I thought if you look at him statistically, he's efficient this year. He just hasn't gotten a lot of shots.
Hmm.
And then he has some turnovers because he's pressing and trying to do too much when the ball does get in his hands. So there's been multiple things. And so I love it that you want to talk about this because I think Carter, when you looked at him yesterday, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, he was doing other things and then getting in the flow a little bit offensively. Arkansas is going to need Carter Knox and DJ Wagner
Hmm.
to be better than they have been. Yesterday was a good sign. And well, let's go back to the Louisville game real quick. 5 points for Carter, 5 points for DJ. They didn't shoot the ball particularly well.
Hmm.
But what stood out to me, and I've talked about it on some of my other platforms this week, one guy took 9 shot attempts, the other one 8, and they weren't bad shots. They just trying to get in the flow.
Hmm.
They haven't been getting up many shots prior to the Louisville game, and a part of that was Malik Thomas and Darius Acup Jr. trying to get their teammates involved. And so if you continue to play that way, then you see yesterday these guys getting their shot attempts again. They're up 9 and 10 respectively for Knox and Wagner, and they started making some, and that's how they got into double-digit scoring. So I think this is part of a process that's going to help those guys, because you can look at the individual players like Knox and DJ, say, well, it's incumbent upon them to figure it out.
Hmm.
No, it's incumbent also upon some of the guys that are on the ball a lot to make sure the teammates are getting looks, getting opportunities, and they're not taking all the shots or too many of them. So you're not blaming anybody here. It's just as a team builds chemistry and learns to play together, everybody's got to have a hand in each other's success. Play for each other. They say that all the time.
Hmm.
So there's more than one way to look at that. But I think Carter Knox is starting. It was one game for he and DJ yesterday. Let's see what continues to happen.
Hmm.
But I was actually encouraged by how many shot attempts each of those guys got against Louisville, even though they didn't hit very many.
Hmm.
And each one of those guys was big for segments in that game. They had a big hand in Arkansas' success in that game, and certainly yesterday. Because again, you're only up 10 at halftime. DJ got hot right before the half. Then it was Carter on the other side of the half, and DJ hits a big shot there. Both of those guys finally got going.
Yeah, even Coach Cal shouted out DJ, saying that he was happy for him that some shots were finally falling, because he's recognizing that he's struggled so far this season. But just a quick question for you on these two. What do you think about their effort when shots aren't falling for them?
Yeah, it's just got to be there. I mean, DJ coming into yesterday has been averaging 3.5 assists per game. It shows you that even though he hasn't been scoring, he's been helping Arkansas in some other areas. Knox he's better on the glass this year than he was as a freshman. Well, you expect that. He's given Arkansas some energy plays against Louisville. His 2 buckets, he didn't shoot well. His 2 buckets came early when Arkansas jumped on Louisville early, but he also got on that offensive glass and was just battling. And so he had his moment. So again, effort in other areas, you got to have it. But I think again, if you're fully embracing the player, you want to get them going a little bit offensively. And I think it's just human nature that helps fuel their fire in the other facets of the game when they feel like they're a part of it, aside from just doing the dirty work. DJ Wagner last year, at this time of year, was really up and down as he tried to figure out how to best fit in as a part-time primary handler, playing off the ball. I don't think it's his most comfortable position. And then Boogie Flan got hurt. DJ took over the lead guard spot, and he played his best basketball. Barring an injury to Darius Acup Jr., Arkansas's got its best formula at the lead guard.
Mm-hmm.
It's incumbent upon DJ to continue to try to acclimate playing off the ball for those stretches where he is off the ball and do the best he can there. You'd like to see him be able to be a little more efficient shooting the ball, because he's getting a lot of open looks off the creative craft and drive work of Darius Acuff and the ball movement when the team's spreading it around.
Yeah, that just goes with playing with one another more and learning their kind of quirks and how they dish and drive and all of that stuff. So those two, I think, could be a really good guard duo if they learn how to play with each other, and that will just come as the season goes on. Speaking of the season going on, Arkansas has a pretty big revenge game coming up this weekend against Texas Tech. Where do they even begin to attack a team like that?
I say you go back to the formula that works the best for you. Now, again, Arkansas was back to shooting 33s yesterday, but it was against an opponent where, you were kind of having your way most of the game anyway, and your defense wasn't going to allow that team to make threes. More power to you. I think against quality, really good teams, especially playing away from home, Arkansas needs to get back to playing a downhill style, get paint touches. You're going to get some threes off of that, attacking the paint and then kickouts. Or in transition or secondary transition where the defense isn't settled, you're moving the ball, and you got guys getting some open looks. But I think you've just got to attack the paint, attack the rim, draw. That's how you generate free throw attempts. Arkansas is a good free throw shooting team. Not great yesterday, but and didn't take a whole lot yesterday because they settled for a lot of threes. But I think you get back to what that formula that worked against Louisville. Each matchup's different, but Arkansas is who it is regardless of the matchup. And what it is, in the DNA, is the best at attacking that rim and basket. Obviously, you want to generate turnovers, get out, lob ball turnovers, and get out in transition, run off of defensive rebounds, run off some makes. And then I think Arkansas needs to take care of the basketball and not get into we're forcing some turnovers, but we're kind of kicking the ball around and getting it back, giving it back. Arkansas needs to figure that out. And then Arkansas just needs to be competitive on the glass. This is not a good team at taking away offensive rebounds from its opponent. Arkansas didn't really take away offensive rebounds as much against Louisville, but they got 6 more, and they got a plus 18 in second chance points, which is a stat tied to offensive rebounding. Arkansas needs to be competitive there. I think the other thing is Arkansas's perimeter defense limiting 3-point shooting lately. Just carry that over. You got a whole week to prepare. Some coaches like it when you have a little extra time to prepare against an opponent like that. Some, just the way you're playing right now, they can't wait till the next game. They want to kind of ride that momentum. So we'll see if the layoff between games has any impact. But Ailey, I think Arkansas, and it's a ranked Texas Tech team, and it's a revenge game. But if you're looking at just this season alone, this is a good team that you're facing now. You can't play the team you played last year. Right. You're playing the same program. Yep. So you got to look at it a couple of different ways. But revenge factor, I brought it up to Carter Knox in the post-game presser yesterday. Hey, you had a big game. Speaking of Knox, 20 points, 4 from 3 last year. Heartbreaking loss. Game Arkansas should have won. And don't think Knox, the way he answered me was, yeah, we got that circled effectively. I'm paraphrasing. And then I asked Acuff, he goes, hey, I wasn't a part of that, but I want to win this game for the guys that were in that game. So both of them understand what this looks like as in terms of who the next opponent really is.
Well, you know for a fact that Acuff has heard about the game, regardless of whether he was a part of that team or not.
Yeah.
They just got to go in with a chip on their shoulder. Again, not the same team that they played last year, but hey, we're not losing to these guys again type of thing is what was the vibe that I was getting from them and Coach Cal.
No, exactly right. And look, you don't want to get inside your own head and make this, something odd, something just too weird. And then you come out and you're pressing and you're trying to get out of what works best for you just because you're trying to prove some point. And I think Calipari's just got to figure out whether, you'd also like to see Arkansas get off to a fast start and not play from downhill all game. Yep. And so you'd say that about any game, right? Well, you want to start well, of course. But I think in particular games, especially, I said it about Louisville, and I feel the same here. We'll have an idea of how tight Arkansas is, in other words, based maybe on how the team starts. And so there are several things I'm looking at. But, yeah, you don't want to get too wild about this notion of, we got to get revenge. Yeah, there's that factor. But you want to prove that you're the better team and know going into it that you're the better team. And that's the best medicine to feed the other team. And then when it's over, say, okay, we got our revenge. But if revenge is all that's on your mind, you might get distracted by that and not some other advantages you might have regardless of what happened last year.
Yep. Well, the old saying, actions speak louder than words. We'll see it this weekend for Arkansas against Texas Tech. Kevin, as always, thank you so much.
Great to be here, Ailey. Thank you.
More Pig Trail coming up after the break.